Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to LEGO Space. So today we're doing another update on the Porsche 911 project, and I'm gonna kind of run you through. I got my manual for the original set here, just so that way we can kind of reference some stuff back and forth. Wasn't able to do that last time because I didn't really have it out, and I didn't have any pages ready, so today we're going to kind of go through that. You guys can see I've made some more progress on the body, and yes, it is really cool to see the body separate from the chassis. Um, it's been interesting building it as its own thing compared to building it as one car, one solid piece, basically. Um, Pretty cool. Some different techniques here and there, but overall, pretty much the same. Nothing drastically different so far on the um, body itself. Just some different pinning points. Um, but here, you guys can kind of see kind of the original look of the chassis, how the paddle shifters were, the steering. Um, let's see, I'm gonna have to back up a few pages here. See if I can find. So yeah, you guys can kind of see how the steering originally came out and down. I was hoping to find a better picture of like the actual steering rack. I can't seem to find that. Anyway, here. So you guys get the gist of how the steering was. It went to kind of a universal joint. And then in the front, down is where the rack and pinion was. On this version, the steering is actually back on the other side. You guys can see how the suspension used to be. There was one shock in the middle on each side, which didn't really allow the car to support itself in the front. It sagged in the front. You'd go to activate the suspension, push it down, and the car would just kind of stay down. I'll just kind of give you guys a look on how that looks. And then compared to the mods, which of course now we have two shocks on each side, so a lot more suspension. Of course, we have the anti-roll system on there now. Big game changer on how all that kind of hooks in, and I'll see if I can get you guys some better angles on some of that. There you guys can see where the rod comes down and hooks into for the anti-roll, and then kind of how the shocks are now mounted. It's really cool. So yeah, before the steering would have been up front here. Now it's not only in the back, it's raised up. Before that rack was down pretty low. And then you guys see the one sacrifice that we have to make with the dash is not having our little GT3RS screen anymore. That's now where the gear selector is. And some of you might notice from the last video, I did change the indicator piece and the shifter flaps to nice silver painted parts, just to kind of add a little flair to the model and make it look a little bit cooler. But yeah, as you saw in the last video, this indicator is really nice. It works awesome. Shifting through the gears is just, it's night and day compared to how the old version was. Another thing you can see is they were running 2 rubber bands, so you're pulling back a lot of pressure there. Now we just have single rubber bands, and then like I showed off before I got it all closed up, is the actual pinching point utilizing 2 rubber bands on the shaft that actually moves your shifting mechanisms there. That helps that kind of maintain its spot. It's not relying on a stiff Technic pin to hold it in rotation. It's actually relying on a pinch point now, which is a lot better. And then having these paddle shifters not be so hard to pull back makes it a lot easier to shift. And then, of course, just having the dead stop like I talked about in a previous video. So see, it won't let you go any further that way. The old one did not have a dead stop on it, so it could keep cycling through the gears, which was kind of annoying because then you kind of get lost in what gear you were in. But actually having a dead stop, you guys see it won't let me do anything. And having the indicator on there, that really huge game changer as far as like just playing with the shifting on this car. And then roll that off to the side here. Kind of fast forward, and we'll take a look at the rear axle. Not too much different on the rear axle. A couple things are done a little bit differently. We're not utilizing these pieces anymore. It's kind of hard to show because it is dark. But you guys can see kind of where the anti-roll ties in way down there. Shocks, still basically the same premise for all 4 shocks on the back. See, I want to find right before we put that in place here. So I can back up. Sorry guys, and there we go. So there's kind of the original build for the rear axle setup, and then now our kind of new revamped modified version. Really like it. Like I said, I love the anti-roll. The anti-roll is so cool how it actually functions, and I talked a lot about that in the last video, so we won't touch on it too much. The motor as well has different gearing on the end of it. They're utilizing one of those gray bigger gears and then one of the little tiny gears on there. This one, nothing's changed for the actual gearing going back to the motor. None of that's changed. The overall build of the motor is pretty much the same. Not too much different with the engine overall. You guys can see they kind of used a middle-sized gray gear for that, so gearing's a little different on the motor. Other than that, detail is literally all the same. You guys can kind of see some of it there. It's all the same parts, really. Nothing drastic. We'll kind of get through some of this here. This is still how you're pinning the back of the body in. I'll kind of get through the seat build. See, I'm going to fast forward quite a bit here, see if I can get you guys to the front end. Is there's some differences in the front end with like this area here. These are just like a right angle piece. On this version, we kind of have that like 45-degree angled on there, so just real fine differences in that. The overall build of the structure of the body is pretty much the same. And I guess I'd kind of forgot that Lego themselves built it pretty separately, but once you put it on there, there wasn't really a nice way to get it off, just with how some of the stuff tied in. The air intakes are all the same on the back here. I did kind of change some of my venting. They were using like a rack and like a steering rack piece. I kind of went with some different vents on that, and then I don't see if I can get a better shot of that. I did a little bit different in the front. Kind of used some of those great pieces, make that look a little different. Just trying to make things look a little bit nicer this go around, since I'm kind of getting a second chance at building this car. Overall, everything's pretty well the same. I have done some color changing, of course. We're trying to keep primarily black and orange for the overall color. Of course, some of the stuff has to be the color that it is, but not a big deal. Not too much has changed in here at all, really. It's all basically all the same buildup. The roll cage structure is basically the same. Not much changes there. Seats are same construction. One thing that is quite a bit different is, you know, in the Lego set here, they have you building basically the sides of the body, or the construction that the body is built from, onto the chassis. At one point there, they kind of get you to a point where you slide that piece on, and then you start building the rest of it off of there. Where this is, the whole back end is basically built on its own, together with the rest of the body, and it's separate, so that's kind of neat. Adds a little different, you know, the seats go on while it's in the frame. Seats are already in while the body is on its own. So, I mean, it's really cool. Let's see. Yeah, like you guys can see, the whole, not too much of the body work done yet, and then versus here where we're off of the chassis and we have all that done. So it's really cool. Really cool stuff so far. So yeah, I probably won't have this video be too long. Just kind of an update on trying to show you guys some of the differences in the manual here versus how we're building it via the mod off of the computer. The instructions for this are still the same. You basically get a parts list, and you have to pay really close attention to when you're putting stuff on. There's been a couple points in this where I really had to study the picture and see just where some certain pins were going, because it does get kind of busy once you get into the more intricate parts of the body and stuff like that. But hasn't been terrible. Like I said, it's a challenge, little added challenge, but nothing that's completely undoable by any means necessary. Super easy. You just got to pay more attention, a little bit closer attention. But yeah, guys, it's coming along. Like I said in the last video, chassis is all done. Got it rolling. Everything works really nice when I put it. When I put the car into gear, everything rolls really nice and smooth. And it's just so far this mod's been great. I'm excited to do the one on the Bugatti. Once this one's done, you guys will see videos on that. So I hope you guys are excited for that. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy these videos. And until next time, take care.